Hello, everybody. We're back. It's David, and we're up in northern Minnesota today. And we're in this lovely office of my Dr. Rainier, a friend of mine, Dr. Rainier's office. And this is just actually wonderful. And we got internet and Wi-Fi, so we can do this today. We couldn't do it last week, and we couldn't do it the week before in the proper ways, but we're back. And so today we're going to be doing, what are we doing today? Today we're doing Tuscany. We're doing a scene in Tuscany. So let's get right down to it. Oh wait, first we gotta celebrate it with the beer today is from Indiana, from Munster, Indiana, called, let's see, where is it? It's called Gumball Head Three Floyds. We'll see how that tastes. And so that's where it's coming from. Munster. I had to open up first already. So cheers everybody, cheers to getting this back on the road. I'm up doing a workshop this weekend in Duluth, Minnesota. So cheers everybody. Oh, that's not bad. Not too bad. IPA, they're usually pretty bitter, right? I'm going to give that one about a 7. All right, so here we go. Let's get down to, for all you newcomers that have never been on here on one of these things, we're going to go right over to my website and show you that you have to go down here to pick up the painting that we're doing today. So yes, this is the painting right here, and that's where you're doing the Tuscany scene. And any other information you need, you just go into these areas. And my website. If you want to get my newsletter, you come down here, and my newsletter is right here, and you just put in your name and your email address right there, and that's how you get my emails. Or you can go down here where it says here, go here for archives. You can go there too, or join my Facebook page, and you can get there too. All right, so let's go right away to our supplies. For all you newcomers, this is what I use. I use Holbein paints because they're the greatest paints ever. And we have the transfer paper. I didn't transfer this. We drew this up, and we've got some paper, the Stonehenge Aqua from Legion, and my brushes, of course, which you can get on my website, right? All right, let's keep on going here, and we're going right to the value study. And the value study, everybody usually do value studies, but I usually turn the painting black and white. And today we're all going to learn about background being light and foreground being dark. I know there's the one artist, Schaller, who does most of the paintings like that. And most paintings that you do, it tends to be where you go from the background to the foreground, and you go from light to dark. And usually in a scene, like city scenes and landscapes and stuff, it usually happens all the time. And if you don't, then you don't do it that way. But other than that, you go from light to dark, and this scene is definitely from light to dark, so you can paint through things when you're doing the first wash. You can paint through the second wash and third and fourth wash. And let's see who's all here today. So we got Monica, we got Becky, hello, Marianne, Lynn, Carol. Hey Carol, everybody. I'll be back in Chicago coming, let's see, next week. Next week I'll be back, and I'll be doing it from my studio again. So we had a great time in Dillman's. We had a great time in, what was the other one? It was the Lakeland Art League. We had a great time. We had a good class there too. So we're going to have a great class this weekend too in acrylics. And so let's start our tabletop here. And so here it is, the Tuscany scene. And now I also have a little screen, as you see up in the left-hand corner, of me, just so you can see what it looks like, I guess. Anyways, let's get going here. So we're gonna just take and start out, and I'm gonna kind of go with the colors that are there. I decided, I mean, if you look in this corner right here, or if you look in the left there, they're kind of yellow sky. I kind of like that in this Tuscan scene. So I'm going to go with the yellows, I think, in violets. Yellow, violet, maybe some, yellowy orange. So it's going to be mostly violets and yellows in this scene. So you decide on what you want your things to be. And also, anybody who's here new, please ask questions. And actually, you guys too that have been here for a while. Ask questions. I love questions. And you do those on the side on the chat, on the top chat. It's not a Zoom class. You can't just talk out loud. You just go ahead and ask me, but type it in first. All right, so here we go. We're gonna wet the whole surface because we want soft edges back here. And so we're just gonna do the sky first, and then I've got I don't know how many layers there. If you can see, very light layers of the mountains coming back from Tuscany. And I'm gonna go with my clean palette here, which did not clean any part of it because I don't like wasting paint, so I usually leave it in there. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow, but a lot of times what I do with my yellow, because yellows seem to be very bright, and so what you want to do is take and wet them with maybe a little bit of pink. I have a little bit of pink, and it kind of makes it a little bit more nicer nicer yellow. It's not so vibrant. I don't need it so vibrant. And again, for anybody who doesn't know, I always put down a towel, and that's what I use. I just went over to Savers and I found a towel, or Goodwill. You can find those towels. Usually buy white, and I just use it all around the table. I know a lot of you are doing that now, so cool. So you're going to go with a little bit of white and a little bit of yellow. And again, just going to go through the top here. And just kind of get the top mountain. Now, I can wait for things to dry, and I won't get a soft edge there. I will get a soft edge there, because it is wet. Let me just put this underneath there so you don't get a reflection of the light. And so we're going to start with yellow, and then next we're going, hey Lillian, hey Mel. So I saw it, let me just join in. And so we're going to go a little bit closer here now with more of a, let's go with maybe a pink. I'm going to get down to purples, I'm going to coming down from the purples. And I know this is green land, but with the green land, I'm going to go with like a purpley green, if that makes sense. I'm not sure. So we'll see how that works. And so we're going to go up here. So the Gumball Head 3 Floyd's beer is very bitter. So it's about a 7. So cheers everybody again. So here we got the top part, and it's soft edge, but see how I got it bleeding just a little bit. And that pencil line will usually be erasable anyways. And so I take it, because I'm going light to dark, I can bring that farther down than what the line is. I don't want to take it just to the top of that next line. That's why you do it light to dark, and so that you can take the next wash on top of that wash and not have a little line of white through there. I know there's people that pour their paints, or they mask off that area, or they tape it off, and you don't need to do that. Just go down, because it's going to be lighter underneath, and if you're going darker over the top of the light, you don't have to worry about that. Just take a darker color. It's just, that's why you're making it dark to light, and that's how it is in the photo anyway. So might as well do it that way. And see, like I'm going to take this one, and I erased a little bit too much right there, because in the picture there's a couple of trees way in the distance. If you look right here in the very distance, there's a couple of trees right there, and I put them in. I didn't like them, so I took them out. So I'm just going to keep on wetting as I go down, kind of wetting as I go along. But I erased it with a bad eraser, so it's going to be a little bit, right there, it's going to be a little bit of a darker area, because I kind of ruined the paper there. Don't worry about that. You're not going to do that. I'm going to get this set of mountains now, and that's kind of like a pink, right? Look at that. It's like pink back there. Went from yellow to yellowish pink, and now to a little bit darker pink. And then this one will be a little bit more purple, so I'm going to start getting into my lavender. I'll start putting lavender in there. Yeah, let's see, which one is that? That's which mountain am I on now? So I did 1, 2, 3. Now this is number 4. So number 4 is gonna be a little bit darker. It's the 4th one. That's this one right here. Where is it? Right there. So this one. That's a little bit more purple in there. See how? And so use a lot of it. Use it really thick. In my class I've been teaching these last week, there's acrylic class. Or actually, you should try to take that one of mine. I do acrylic, and maybe I have to do an acrylic paint along one day. But the problem is that it costs a lot of money to get all the acrylics I make you use, because we use ink acrylics, fluid acrylics, gouache acrylics, and heavy body acrylics in the class that I've been teaching. And why am I going around the house? Go through it. Remember I said you're going down, coming forward, light to dark, so you just get darker as you come forward. So now this line is kind of disappearing because I didn't use enough pigment. So I will go in there first and kind of get that back. I want to kind of get that line a little bit more detailed. So I'm getting a little bit thicker paint. Take the water out of your brush, and I just take it and put it on my towel. So I'm going to take a little bit of that, a little bit thicker, because there's water already down, so I don't need to put water in my brush. I need to get it onto the paper, and that's it, because the paper's wet and giving me a soft edge, but I don't want to bleed it so far, so just get pure pigment. The right color, of course. Happy Thursday from Mason. Hey Pam. Hey Marianne. What size paper are you painting on? I am painting on, what is this, 10 by 14. 10 by 14, usually quarter sheet. Quarter sheet I usually use. Take your large 22 by 30 and then just cut it into quarters. So see, I went over, you line that back a little bit. And so it's kind of misty back there, so if you wanted, you could wait for each layer to dry, and you can go over it and have a hard edge, and if it'd be fine. Hey Jenny from San Diego. And so you can do that right here. You can just put that down there. And so now, if I wanted a little bit harder edge, I can wait for it to dry, or put a little bit more pigment into that area. you know, because I have to make that darker anyways because I ruined the paper right there. So I'm just going to go in here now. It's all wet, and so I'm just taking pure lavender and I'm putting into the water that's already there, so I don't have to worry about it bleeding too far if I'm using it thick enough. And it is bleeding out. It's like it's blending because it is wet, the paper, and it will look very fresh, the paint. Even though this paint has white in it, this lavender has white in it, it's still going to look fresh. And so let's see, we're going to come down and there's a little bit of yellow in there. Becky asks, have you ever used black ink to emphasize something on the painting? That's kind of a European thing that I've seen done in Europe where they add black, like line work, and I don't really particularly like that style because you're flattening the edge, like the edge if in there. It's a certain style. If you like that style, then yeah, go ahead and do that. It's fine. I don't like to put a line around things because I always felt that it flattens the image, which it does, because you're putting a line on there. So I have not used it very often, hardly ever. Though there are people that do the inking first and then watercolor over that too. So I've seen that done before. So thanks for the question. I love the questions, guys. Definitely ask me questions. I love them. So you can go in here now, go right through there with a little bit of warmth. And again, there's actually another little hill right through there, and actually one right here. I could wait again for it to dry and do that later, but I'm just gonna try to do them soft edged and go right through here with a little bit darker. This one seems a little bit dark, but then it goes right to this purpley color. So I'm gonna go with there. I'm gonna take a little bit of lavender with white in it and go right over this house a little bit. A little bit of lavender in there. I rarely don't use the color of a photo. I usually don't, but I like the color so much in this photo, so why not use parts of them? It's okay. Go ahead and use them. If you like them, there's no problem with that. Now we're going to go with a little bit more back here. Again, a little bit of orange, pink, and violet. It's kind of pastel-y, this picture I'm doing right now. It's very pastel-like, but that's okay. I mean, you should be able to use, but it's still transparent because I'm using it and I'm floating into water like a puddle. And that's my thing, is to just float your pigment, and so it will look transparent. It will look transparent if you use and you're floating your pigment into the water on your paper. And even that, look how hard that looks in these. So you just have to use a little bit more paint. Remember, paint is what controls the water. The water is just out of control at all times until you add paint to it. Now I'm going to come down here with the whole foreground and going to get my lights in there. So basically, this part is almost done. You know, it's just the background. I could go back in, I guess, and get some of those little things they have in there. But let me see how that looks when it's dry, and I can maybe start that again. But we're going to keep that for now. So now we're getting a big reflection in here, aren't we? So I have to hold it sideways here a little bit. So let's get our lights, which is this right through the center. We've got the light of yellow, like this fields here. And I also added like grapevines on this one, on this area here. Where is this light coming from? Hold on, let me just turn this light off so you don't get a reflection. There we go. Sorry about that. So here we're going to put it right in the middle. We're going to put some of that yellow. Come through here. Hey Ann, hey Becky, hey Jenny. Let's see. So I always look up every once in a while to see what you guys are up to and asking. So don't be afraid to ask questions. That's why I'm here, hopefully teach you. And again, this week it's all about light to dark. Light background, dark foreground. Now I'm not going to put the darks in the foreground yet because I'm still working on getting a light area like that's coming through here. I'm just putting that in right now. Put a little white in my yellow so it doesn't get too harsh. I don't like harsh yellow. It's just, it looks too unnatural, and more of a gold, like quinacridone gold. I'm using a little quinacridone gold here. And then the vines, this must be fall, I'm not sure of the scene if it's fall. There's actually no grape things in this scene, but I'm figuring it's Tuscany, so let's put some grapevines in this thing. Wine country. All right, so that's gonna be darker, but I'm just putting in the lights like we always do. Now the house itself, we're gonna go with a little bit smaller brush. So it's rectangular, the house, and it's almost dry. It's almost dry, so I can go right in. And on my screen, this looks really yellow, but it's not as yellow as it looks on my screen. Maybe on your screen, it looks a little bit more orange. It's a little bit more orange than yellow. It's more gold. So I'm gonna take a little bit more orange here. This is brilliant orange. I'm gonna go in here. There's too much water on my brush. I can always tell, so I always just dab it here, and then pick up the other side, and then I can just go in here and do the side of the building a little orange. Go right to the dark areas. Anytime there's dark areas that you know you're gonna go into with a dark, don't be afraid of just going through there, not even going around the edge, just like go over the whole thing, because then some of that color will get into the dark, which is a good thing. So I noticed that there's a little bit of the orange just hanging on the back of this hill, and this is going to be really dark over here, so don't be worried about that. Now there's a little bit of orange in this area. This is the road, and so the road actually is gray, so let's gray up the road a little bit. I'm just going to take a little bit of the gray on my palette. And how do you make a gray? Leave your palette dirty, you got a lot of grays. One of the ways of definitely getting it. When you clean your palette so much, then you're taking all those beautiful grays, you just dump them out down the sink. So look at this, I got this beautiful gray, which is made from the lavender. Look at that instant road, and it just kind of matches up there already. Isn't that great? Don't throw your paint away down the sink. Alright, so there we go. Now we got a road. And now we're ready for our darks. I think we're about ready for a dark. Oh wait, this tree here, there's a little bit of light on this side, so let's put a little bit of warmth. And you know me and greens, how much I dislike greens, so I'm staying away as much as I can, but sooner or later I'm going to have to put a little bit of green in there, so I'm going to have to put a little blue and quinacridone gold together. So I'll put a little bit of the green in here. And a little orange, it'll mix in with that. And then I pick a little bit of the gold that goes around that, the trees. Alright, so I think we're ready to go with the darks. Oh, here's a bush of a little bit light orange. You can always throw green in there on top of it, because you can have every color in any wash, and just predominantly it should be the orange or whatever the main color that you want in there. Alright, so let's, boy, I got a watermark, look at that, a watermark. Oh boy, what do I do now? I'll have to show you. But first, cheers, Gumball Head. It's not even a good beer, it's just a 7. Alright, so let's see, is this dry enough? I see the towel also, it just spilled, so the towel's good there too for the beer when it spills. Let's do the trees, and these are cypress trees, and we'll go with our darks right away. I'll use my round brush, the small round brush, number 6, is it? Number 8 round brush. And we're going to go in here and get a really nice dark color, maybe a little olive green. You know, even though these are not olive trees, we'll do a little olive green in here. And this whole area here, I'm just going to make it a little bit darker. Maybe a little orange, because if you look at the picture, there's a little bit of orange in there. A little brownish orange. Kind of come up here and get a couple of these little trees. You know, I always wait for the darkest dark until late, you know, until the very last. So just use it thick, because a lot of things are still wet here. So if I use it thick, I can get more of a nice edge on it. Always remember your edges. It's the amount of pigment that you use. So here we go in. Let's see what we got. Oh, you got trees first. So let's do the trees first. So a lot of times for trees, I like to wisp upwards like this. I just take my brush and wisp it. Or take the side of your brush and just kind of scumble. This is called scumbling, where you scumble the background. And I take the side of the brush, like it's flat like this, and I go across like this, and it gives a kind of a scumbled look. Very technical terms I use here, scumbled look. So scumble it up. So go in there like this. And then right away, let's do our purple. Let's get some purple into this for our shadow color. So purple and orange, or purple and yellow, when you put it together, you get kind of a brown. So it's all good. You know, you wet this area right in here. There's going to be a little bit of shadowing. And I'm just going to make it soft edge because it's still wet, but that's a good thing. It'll be a soft edge, it's still wet. I'm using enough pigment so that it will stop after a certain point. So the pigment stops the water from running all over the place, and for the pigment running all over the place, and looks like the shadow goes all the way down here. And you can start out with any color when you're doing this shadow, and then just kind of put in the color that's on top of. Like here we have that orange background, so I'll make it a little bit darker orange, or yellow, or whatever that color is there. I'll make it a little bit thicker lavender in here. Lavender is always nice to put in there. And maybe I still gotta get the lavender in the street. And I'm just kind of going in here. You notice I didn't use any blue yet because it's not blue and orange, it's violet and yellow is my complement. So if I start adding another color into that, which I can use, I mean, a little bit of blue, but I can't all of a sudden just switch and start using other colors in a painting that where the values, most of them are purple and orange color scheme. The orange I have put in there because I make it more like an orangey yellow, or actually more like a red because it's like a brownish red, and that's what the trees are gonna be green, so that'll be complements together. So you're gonna have more than one complement in there. You can do like two. I'm gonna make this kind of like these shadows go across, like here's like they're hitting something, like they're hitting the sun's hitting. I just feel that it's just a solid shadow doesn't look as good as maybe one broken up a little bit. And again, put in maybe the road again. A little bit thicker paint, because it'll black out. Thicker paint will black out the other, and make like a dam of paint. It'll dam up the other colors from running in there. And these are not my darkest darks. These are the shadows. This is the shadow that you see right here. You know, the shadow right there. I will make it darker when I get to the trees. That part of the trees I'll get darker. Let's do this house really quick, and a little villa here in Tuscany. We'll just put that. It's not quite as dark as the back. The trees will be in front of it, so, but it's enough to show the top and side. And I'm not sure if this. I can't really tell if it's got a red roof or not. Sometimes it had a tile roofs, but I'm gonna make it kind of tile roof looking, or brown, brownish red. So just go in here. If my background, like I said, if you want to make the background more, you know, harder edged and stuff, and I can still do that, but I probably should do it before I go into this area. But you could go back in and just wait until it dries. You get a hard edge and do the next one, and then definitely not do this with a hard watermark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet this when I get this roof done here, and I'm going to see if I can't just go back in there and straighten it out a little bit. When you're in a rush, sometimes you kind of go fast, and then you just have to don't wait for things to dry, because I can't, because I'm teaching guys in an hour. So, but you guys do it. Make sure you do. Just don't worry about the time. Time doesn't matter when you're painting. It's just it may matter for you, but it doesn't matter how long it takes you to do a painting. And a lot of times people see how fast I am, and that's just through the years of painting and being an illustrator at an advertising agency. So that just helps out. But you don't have to be that fast. It doesn't. Your outcome is what's important. Here, we just put a bunch of little tree trunks in there. Tap a little bit for the trees. They're a little bit more orange, so let's stick a little orange in here. And again, I'm still not at my darkest. This is not my darkest day. I'm getting to them. I always save them for the end. A little shadow underneath there. Maybe come over here, put a little bit of orange over on this side. It's pretty dark over here, so let's start getting into some darks. Now to make a green, I do have to use blue because the blue and the quinacridone gold make my greens. But they can also be a dark green. And I also try to do the biggest greens first, like the biggest area. So this whole foreground is dark, right? And it's green. So let's go right in there with a nice big brush. So here's my big round. It's not that big, it's only a quarter sheet. Jenny asks, would you say this is like the 2-color lesson you gave a few weeks ago? Same idea. Yeah, kind of. But you can add other colors. You notice I've been using yellow and purple, but that doesn't mean I can't use like the orange and greens in there. But prominently, I try to think of it as, you know, violets and yellows. Even though this is orange, I kind of consider it like a yellowy orange, maybe. Or the green, olive green is more like a yellow. To me, green is like a yellow if you make it olive or. So yeah, it is kind of like that. But don't just use two colors though. Use as many colors as you can. But prominently, your painting should be more of the yellows and the violets. And you'll see right now what I do with that. I'm going to do a little bit of nice dark violet in this foreground, and it'll make it pretty dark. But I'm still, like I said, I'm using yellow, and yellow like an orange, which is a gold. So to me, gold is kind of like a yellow. So basically, I should say gold, not orange, because it's more of a gold that I'm using, and that'll combine with the violets really well because they're complements. But when you mix them together, you get a brown and a brownish color. But you can put some violet in there, lavender. Now see how dark in the picture, how dark right here, how dark this is right there. So I'm gonna get there. I'm going slowly. Let's see, what time is it? Yeah, it's not that slow. I better hurry up. So we're gonna get a little bit of violet here. Violet, and put it in with our, like I said, I'm making this rows of grapes. And so what I'll do is I'll just tap like this. And you notice how it gets from dark to light. So keep your darks in the lower right and then let it just bleed into the yellow. And it's wet in the wet. I'm wetting as I go along. And listen, now this is a little bit lighter, but then I should put a little bit of the orangey yellow, gold I should say, gold. I have to remember to say that, gold. I'll put a little bit of the, and then let's put a bunch of these little dots in here like it's grapevines, up and down. So I'm just kind of going in there, keeping the street kind of right there. This is kind of on the top right here. I'm not putting these cypress trees in yet. That'll be the last thing I put in because this whole bottom is going to be really dark. I'm going to make that really, really dark. And so here I can put in, I've learned with the acrylics that if you ever take one of my acrylic classes, you really learn how to use enough pigment to make things dark. Most of us watercolorists don't use enough pigment. You really got to push it. Lillian asked if I'm looking for ideas. I'm always looking for ideas, and yes, we can do a lighthouse. I haven't done, I don't think, a lighthouse in a while. We did the one, I actually saw the picture that we did before with the rocks and stuff, so yeah, we can do a lighthouse. I'll have to find a little different one. If you guys ever find any pictures, like on some of those sites that I talk about, the Unsplash or Pixels or Pixel Bay, if you find any pictures, you should send them to me. Or your own pictures if you feel like you want to share them. I definitely will take them. And we can use those, but you have to realize that I'm going to have everybody use them, so only give them if you want me to have everybody use them. Alright, so here we go with the background trees now. Nice and dark. These are little cypress. And there's one right there. Let's see, what's the one? There's this big one here. And this, I'm using a round brush because it's so cool that I can just use a round brush. Because look at the shape of my brown brush and look at the shape of the tree. Doesn't that kind of look the same? So if I just tap the front like that and just tap down harder, I get bigger and bigger, and it gives me the shape of that tree, of the cypress tree. So round brushes for these type of trees, rectangular brushes for homes and rectangular shapes. Use the brush that best fits your purpose for the thing that you're doing. And how do you know which one is the perfect for that idea? Is you need to just practice on sheets of scrap paper on how to use your brushes. Just go in there and just try to see what your brushes can do. I've always done that thing where you kind of go sideways like this and make brushes like that. You can, I can't show, see, I'll show you. Like you bend it sideways like this, and you kind of push and bend, and you can make it like grasses and. So let's see, a little bit of orange in there, a little bit of yellow. And you can't quite see what's in there, but how about a little fence back here? I don't know. It just seems like something would be there. And this gets a little bit darker here. You can blend it into the shadow a little bit more. it's almost like I do 3 layers. I do the light, medium, and the dark, but I'm thinking mostly about the light and the dark. The mediums can go either way for the composition, but now to get a really dark, I use Prussian blue, quinacridone gold. Those 2 colors together make a really nice dark green, and then I may even add a little bit of purple to that to make it even darker, because it'll dull down the green, because sometimes my green is just way too vibrant. I've been noticing that. I just did a plein air study that was just, the green was horrible. It wasn't natural, and I think the greens have to look natural to make them look right in nature. I've never found a really good one in tubes, so I usually mix mine. So now we're going here. Again, all these cypress trees. Again, I'm using this brush that best fits the purpose. Again, this round brush works wonders on that way. Bringing it down. A lot of green into there. All right. By the way, thanks for the idea of a lighthouse. That's a good one. I haven't done a lighthouse in a while. I always forget what I do here and what I do in my classes, because sometimes in my classes my workshops, we do things and I forget that we didn't do that type of thing. Always good to give me ideas. Definitely give me ideas what you want to paint. Or are you having a problem with something in painting that you don't know what to do or how to do? Let me know. That's why I love to do the video of it and just show you. It's the best way to do it. A lot of times this video and just show you instead of talking. And that's like in my newsletter, I started doing a little bit more of the videos because sometimes it's easier to show than sit there and write it for hours. So come down here. Oh, I kind of got rid of the roadway going up that way. Oh well. So now we're going to make this in shadow. I guess we have to do it in shadow anyways. I thought at first we weren't going to do that, but now you have to put it in shadow. These trees are not green at all over here, but they are farther back. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go play a little bit of blue into them. They're kind of like a purpley green, so I'm just going to go in there, play a little bit of the green into them. Just push a little bit of that green in there. And then we got nice shadows underneath them. I always think where the sun's coming from, and I'm not sure where the sun's coming from yet. Maybe from over here, on the side, going this way. So we can go from that direction. And let me just see one thing here. Okay. So let me think. So the shadow maybe goes on this side again a little bit. I don't want to use green. I like to use this. And also, don't clean your palette in midway. A lot of times people want to, if you want a little area for a real bright color, do it over here, or get yourself another tray. Because all these colors are things you've used, so it's always good to go back into those because you've used them. So those are the colors that your painting is, so tend to use those a lot. Okay, there we go, and over here, a little street and coming down. Maybe a couple of these things that they have at the vines and stuff. Again, I'm making that up, so if you don't want to make it up and just do it like the photograph, that's fine. That's fine. I just feel sometimes that it's like, hey, it's Tuscany, and you ever been to France and they have the wine fields or the grape fields and the wine fields? Ooh, it must be drinking too much of this gumball. The grape fields, and they have the little stalks all over and the vines all over. So I'm just putting them in there. Now, these are very important, that dark, and this is what that Schaller does. He puts a really dark in the front to show this dimension of light to dark. When you come forward, you just get darker. It's a very easy way of composing your painting. It's just go light in the back, and as you come forward, and your center of interest has the most color, most details, and most everything about the center of interest in this area. We got that now. Watch this. I'm going to put in, it's almost going to be black down here. I'm just going to really force the darks down there. Really super dark. I'm even using black with green, Prussian blue, black, purple. Just making it super dark. And then I'm just going to come in here and make this the foreground. And so this will be, definitely say foreground because it's going to be all super dark. Though when I put darks in, that doesn't mean I just have to have a solid color of dark. Once this gets wet, you know what I'm going to do, right? You're going to float your pigment. Always float your pigment. And so I was told that a lot of people can't do Thursday night to watch the thing, but remember, you can always watch these over and over again. You can slow it down. Even tonight, if you're painting along and you want to stop me from talking, all you have to do is press the button. I'm still going to be recording, and so it'll still be on there for when you get ready to go again. Now you won't be able to probably in real time ask a question, but you don't feel like you have to paint when I'm painting, or if you do, you don't have to paint at the same speed, which is be kind of hard because you have to look a little bit and then paint at the same time. That's pretty tough. So don't try to do that. So now that this is wet here, we're just going to go in here with a little bit of lavender. We're going to go in there. What else? Let's see. Let's get some warm colors in there. Some orangey darks, which is basically a brown, right? So go in here like that. Wash that across. Let's get this really nice and dark. That's not dark enough because it has to be the darkest dark down here, so it pops forward. If you don't get it really dark, then it fits like with this. This is the darkest dark. This is like I just said, it's foreground. It's overlapping everything above there too. There's a little tree right here. I'll put that in. I'm just gonna tap. I like to tap. I like to go like this for trees. I just like to go down. I know people like to use sponges or funny brushes. There's this thing called a funny brush. I don't have it with me at the moment, but there's all kinds of different. It's like a rubber band brush, but there's all kinds of ways you could do. Like scumbling. Remember I did the scumbling up there. I can scumble the tree by using the side of your brush and just tapping, kind of. Do that. These are just dark weeds or bushes or anything in the dark down here. Coming across. And now this is wet in the wet, and so that's where I like to start putting in other colors. Even lighter colors, that's okay, because the majority of it is really dark. And so if you put a little bit of other colors in there, that's okay. Actually, it's better if you do a little bit of that. Because then it looks very transparent, and it looks very nice. Let's see, how does that look? Not too bad. So I got going here, let's put a couple of these little dots in. I guess there's a street, is there a street there? I'm not sure. Well, let's make it a little bit darker here. A couple of little more vines in here. And again, my center of interest is the only thing I have to do left now is get the center of interest to really focus on that. And maybe I'll even put a little fence, something right here just to kind of make it a little bit sharper. These trees should be more scumbled, so I'm just going to try it on my paper or my towel there, and it's dry enough, I think. Ooh, a little bit too dark. A little bit too dark. Let's take some orange, wipe out all the water, and then just scumble it across. And you'll go across the paper and just get a little bit of a texture. I can go into the orange here a little bit. Don't want to go into those trees that I just made so nicely. All right, any questions? Mel has a question. Did this scene in your gentleman's class a few years ago? Interesting to see the different color approach this time. Oh, I did? Yeah, I think a lot of times the Tuscany scenes, I don't know. Yeah, actually it was the same road. It must have been the same house. Different picture, but same scene, same place. And I remember there was, in the other picture that I had for the class, there was grapevines in there. And I think it was downwards more, like coming at you. Yeah, good thing you remember that. Thanks, Mel. So now this seems a little bit light back here compared to what the picture is. If you look at the picture, look how dark and how light that turned out to be. So let's go back into that before I do my windows. Now, how much time do we have? Oh, it's only 7:09. We got plenty of time. We're almost done here. Like I said, so it'll be a little bit faster. So cheers, everybody. Cheers, cheers, cheers. Okay, let's see. I'll take my half-inch brush. And so this is how when you make a mistake and you want to go back in. Now, I don't want to go down to these tree areas, because if I get down to there, I'm going to screw up those trees. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wet as I go along. I'm just going to wet this area right here. Make it a little bit darker, but only do it as I go along so I can stop it from when I get to about this area. I'm going to stop it to have any color. And on my paper, my Stonehenge paper, this watermark that I got, this line here, watch this. If I wet it, it just disappears because what happens is the pigment picks up and then it just goes in, the pigment then floats like the rest of the pigment and it just kind of goes away. Because again, this is Stonehenge Aqua and it doesn't absorb into the paper as much like as Arches does. So let's go in there with a little bit darker color now this time, because you saw there's a little bit more purpley orange in this part right back here. So, and I'm going to make it a hard edge. It doesn't have to be so soft edged. It could be a little bit harder. And so now that's a little bit darker. So see, even I make mistakes. There's times you don't get dark enough the first time. I didn't do this in class like I normally do. I do one beforehand. So this is what I would have done in my class. So you guys are in my class this time. So as it comes down, I'm going to get a little bit lighter and lighter, and I'm going to leave that alone because I want this just to bleed to a light area. And coming down here, clean your water, put it down like this, and then just go down with clean water. And it'll blend into this area without putting a line there. That's much better. Now we have at least a little bit of a mountain back there. Now I would wait for it to dry if I wanted to do another. I noticed that right in the middle here, there's another mountain. But this time I'm going to wait for it because now it would be too soft. So I'll wait for it to dry, and then by the time I get by the time I get the windows done, it'll be fine. So windows, I take a flat brush, and I just kind of tap it because a flat brush is a rectangle. And so anytime you need a rectangle, to use a flat brush, all you gotta do is poke it down like this. Watch this. 1, 2, 3 windows. 1, 2, 6 windows. Another window over here, maybe one over there. Instant windows. And what else can we do this before that dries? Questions? Give me some questions, guys. I gotta stall. I gotta stall for this to dry a little bit. And boy, there's a shadow on my nose, isn't there? Like I have a red. I don't have a bloody nose or anything up here. Okay, let's see. I think we're almost done. I just want to do that one thing, let that dry. So ask a question, guys. Next week we are going to be back home, so I'll be able to do another. Maybe it's going to be a lighthouse. Thanks again, Lillian, for that. The window color was my dirty palette up here. Basically, it was a gray, kind of a grayish dark, and so it looks like there's purple in there, a little bit of purple and a little bit of black. So I made them pretty dark. I'm going to maybe make a little bit of a dark edge on the underneath the thing right here on the side, maybe a little bit dark edge. Actually, the roof should be a little bit darker on the one side because it angles. So let's make it a little bit dark red. So I'm going to take red, take a little violet with my red, and make it nice burgundy. I'm just going to go up here and just make those a little bit darker, so get a little angle on that. And ask if I ever glaze. My favorite artist actually is Sir William Russell Flint. Sir William Russell Flint, and he does hundreds of glazes, and it's a great way of doing it and make it look. You can go over and over, but you always have to wait for the second or third and fourth washes to dry. Don't put a glaze over something that is like wet. Like the reason this worked is because it was all dry. Now I put it back over that and see how it's super fine. It doesn't. It looks like a first wash too, but I let it dry, and you always put the second glaze or a wash over something. It's fine. Carol says I should be drinking Moretti beer. Yes, I should. That's right. And not Munster beer. Munster, Indiana. Yes, I should be. This is an Italian scene, right? Tuscany. And so I'm going to put a little bit of this red. I just noticed that this red is nowhere else. And so I'm going to scumble a little bit into this trees right here. Because that red, if you have just that red in one place, it looks kind of odd. And so I'm going to turn those trees into more of a red burgundy. And then maybe this is more of a burgundy wine vineyard. So let's see, we're going here. Put some more red there. Maybe there's a little shack here or something. There's not, and I'm just making this up. So across. All right. Would you leave the pencil line on the top mountain? No, I don't think I should. And actually, that's a good point there. Thanks, Jenny. I'm going to go back into that when that's going on right now, because it is a little bit of it's a little bit too light. It got a little bit too light, that mountain up there, which it is. I mean, if you look at it right here, that's pretty light right there, that mountain. But I want to get rid of the hard edge line or the line there, the dark line, or make it that. Well, I can't make it that dark, so I'm going to go back into that area. Let's go back into that, and boy, I think I'm going to erase it and just, let me look in there again. That's a tough one because it's such a small change that I'm going to have to make. So I just don't want to ruin an hour's worth of work now. So let's go through here, and let's see how it goes here. I'll make it a little bit darker on there. Let's see how red that, or yellow that looks. So I'm going to have to definitely put a little bit of white in there so it's not too dark. Put a little white and pink. I like to use a little bit of pink with my white and yellow. It'll kind of tone it down. Oh, that's way too bright. Way too bright. Oh boy. Let's float some white in there. Let's float some white and some pink in there. You know me and my pink and my white. As long as you float it, you're fine. It will not be any problem. It's just that, see how bright this side is now and how less bright that is. So, and that's because I use white, and you know what's wrong with that? If I need to get a whiter edge, it's still gonna look like paper. It's still gonna look transparent. It'll be fine to use it. All right, we'll see you, Marianne. Take your dog out. He needs to go out. That's fine. That's awesome. All right, I think that's good for that. So the background's done. This is done. I'm not going to put that in there. And so I think we're good. Let me take the tape off, and another nice Thursday night with you guys. And our paint-alongs are coming back again. Sorry again about the last 2 weeks, but there's not much Wi-Fi up there in northern Wisconsin. And and also my camera, I was going to do a camera live one, but my camera broke on my camera, on my phone. Oh, look at that. I ripped a little bit of that, so I didn't tear it this way. Always tear away. Always tear away from the paper. You don't want to rip it. See, I ripped a little bit there. Not much, but just always rip away like this. I did it on purpose, so I'll show you guys. Believe that? You go like this. You kind of throw it to the side here. Carol wants to do another one where we copy the masters. Definitely, I love copying the masters. Everybody should be copying the masters at all times. It's such a good thing to do. We definitely can do that. Just let me know which master you want to copy. Usually a watercolor. Actually, sometimes you don't have to even do a watercolor master. You can do an oil painting master and just take their composition and their picture and turn it into a watercolor. And what happened here? I just got a dot right there. So I'll take a piece of paper towel. Not sure how that got there. Yeah, I'm not going to put that there's another line in there, very light. I'm just going to keep it as that, and it'll look like fog back there. So there you go, guys. We're going to see you next Thursday at same time, same place here on YouTube. I've noticed today that my YouTube channel just wasn't on there, so I'm going to try to figure out how to get this on my front of the YouTube channel so that you always can find it. So thanks again this week, and see you next week, next Thursday, 6:30. Give me ideas, guys. All right, so talk to you later. Bye.